It's okay. You're sad because Michigan just lost on the last-second field goal to Iowa. It's understandable that you don't know what you're doing. It's fine.
I have no idea what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah, it's been a great night. Great night.
Yeah.
Who is your daddy? I am your father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?
All right, welcome to episode 45 of Fathers of the Grind. My name is Tim Nestor, and I have a giant beard right now. Look at this thing. Look how big this beard's getting. It's getting real
Why
real
are
fluffy.
you not shaving?
Yeah. So I haven't shaved my neck either, but I'm feeling too much like Andrew Luck right now. So I think tonight is a night, either tonight or tomorrow, I'm actually going to be doing a complete trim back of the old beard. So I'll still have a beard like usual, but I'm going to trim it back. It's just too much. It's getting too itchy, and I'll tell you what, my wife is not a fan. So
No, my wife doesn't. I have this, which is not a beard, obviously, but my kids and wife hate this because it's like spiky. Yeah. So it like stabs them.
Yep.
But they think I'm just doing it for my looks. I actually like to stab them.
Oh, nice. So it's not like is it anger stubble? Is that what we're calling that?
Yeah, like I go in for like the gentle kiss and then I do this, like wipe them
nice.
with it.
Very nice. That's awesome. All right, so we want to kick things off with our episode here, talking about. Let's see what I have in the notes here. Iowa Hawkeyes. What is that? What's the Iowa Hawkeyes? What?
Oh, it's a new Marvel comic book character.
Oh,
it's Hawkeye's older brother, Iowa. Hawkeye.
Yeah, no, I remember that classic issue, that classic comic issue when they kicked that last-second field goal.
Here's what pisses me off. So at halftime, I went and brought up these notes and I started updating it, and I noticed Timothy Nestor was in there as well. And so as I'm done like typing them out, I go back and lay down to watch the game. I see it actually being typed out, Iowa Hawkeyes, and I'm like, well, you can talk your little crap right now, but they're gonna lose. And when Channing Stribling picked it off, I was like, game, set, match. All we have to do is get one first down, and it's done. And we don't get one first down.
Nope. And then Iowa kicked the game-winning field goal. So, for those of you who care about college football and the way the playoffs work, I'm excited as a Penn State fan because despite our disappointing loss to Pitt this year and despite getting absolutely trounced by Michigan this year, we actually stand a shot to make the Big Ten championship game and a very, very outside shot if we were happen to win that to make the playoffs. It's insane to think of it that way, but it's possible if the right pieces fall into place. Still a long shot. Ohio State and Michigan still the inside track for that, but man, that would be crazy. What a turnaround that would be.
I do have to say one thing before we move on.
Yeah.
As a fan who tries to be non-biased and fair, first of all, let me say Iowa played a great game. Michigan did not. Iowa did. But that last drive or whatever, when they got the personal foul on the kick return, bull crap. And I was really furious when they called the face mask bull crap. That was not.
Yeah, that was not face mask. That was just, hey, my hand's on the side of his helmet, and his helmet turned, but the fingers did not grab any part of the face mask. That
didn't do anything, and I can't believe with all the plays that we replay, like that Michigan-Iowa game replayed like 50 plays, why they can't replay that and see, oh, he really didn't do anything wrong. Let's take the 15 yards back. But
yeah, I mean, it's still possible they would have gotten a couple plays to get in field goal range, but it would not have been as easy, that's for sure.
But it was so easy. Like, Iowa didn't have to do anything to get it.
Yeah, they started on like the 35 or something. So it wasn't, it was a rough ending if you're a Michigan fan, so I don't want to rub it in too much there, Derek. Your team is very good this year, so people are just happy to see good teams lose. So that should make you feel good. That people are, if they're just happy, I'm just happy to see a good team lose because it benefits my team.
Well,
but you should be happy.
Let's play a little game.
Okay.
It's called Guess That Finger, Timmy. Guess it.
Oh. I only need one guess for that one. Yeah.
State, Ohio State fans.
Was that your toe? That's weird.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
All right.
Let's kick off the show. Enough Michigan. Boo-hoo, whatever.
Yeah, let's stop talking about football. let's stop talking about football for right now. We'll get back to it later. I did post a picture though in our Facebook group that it was like a mock-up someone had done for NCAA football 17, and it featured a couple SEC teams. Whatever, I don't care about the teams, but that mock-up just made me yearn for NCAA football to come back. Just Saturdays like this, when you have upsets and teams playing their hearts out and really close games down to the wire, it just reminds me how much I love college football. I come on, EA, bring it back. I want it back. All right, so let's move away from football. We don't usually talk about movies much in our show here, but I wanted to ask you, because I know you've posted recently, but also in weeks past, about some movies that you've seen. So this doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out thing where we really dig into our movie reviews. It's not really something that we claim to know much about. But we do both like movies. So what movies have you seen this year that you would consider to be notable, whether they were good, or I also want to know if you've seen some this year that you're disappointed in, that didn't quite hit the mark. And then I was also going to share a few that I've missed so far this year that I'm hoping to watch. So give me kind of your overall movie experience this year. What's been good, what's been bad, and what are you excited about for movie season that's going to start kicking in here in a couple weeks?
I actually, when I saw this was a topic, I typed in like top 100 movies of 2016 because I couldn't remember what I've seen. I don't watch a lot of movies, so I couldn't remember. And as I went through the list, I was like, oh, I've seen some pretty good movies. Like Deadpool is like probably my favorite a superhero movie, so amazing that I forgot that. So yeah, Deadpool is probably my favorite movie I saw this year. A close second, because I really, really liked it, was Civil War. I thought it was really good. And then Zootopia. So those are like my top 3 movies that I've seen this year. As far as bad, I didn't like X-Men Apocalypse. I thought
you just watched that one, right? Was that the first time you've seen that one?
Yeah. I thought the villain was annoyingly bad. And I like the actor. He's the guy from Star Wars. I don't remember his name, but
yeah, he's also in Ex Machina.
Yeah,
which is a pretty solid sci-fi.
Yeah. That's where I recognize him. But I don't mind him as an actor. I just thought in this movie he was bad. And,
I agree. Oscar Isaac was wasted in that movie, as were several actors in the X-Men movie. Totally agree.
I felt like Olivia Munn was just there to be beautiful. Like, she barely said anything. She barely had a purpose.
Which is a shame, because she's got a great personality. She's a comic actress too. Like, she's very funny. If you've ever seen the show The Newsroom, she was great in that. And I know she's been in other stuff, but that's the one that comes to mind. That was really disappointing. The way they totally, G4 of course, but they totally wasted her ability as an actress. They just basically said, "Hey, get into fighting shape so you can jump around and swing those energy swords and whips. Oh, and also you're gonna wear this really small one-piece bathing suit the whole time. Cool." And it's like, well,
that was pretty much why she was in the movie.
Kind of a waste of her skill, waste of Oscar Isaac's skill too. Even though I think he had moments where I thought he's a great actor here, but his makeup was a little ridiculous. By the way, I'm just jumping in because that's another one of my I'm a little disappointed with at movies for this year. So I agree with you on that one.
And well, I'm not trying to steal yours, but I was actually looking at yours and going, oh yeah. I won't even say it. I'll let you say it. But yeah, one of the movies you have in the bad is another one that I thought was a huge letdown. As far as missed, so far I have not seen Doctor Strange, but I plan to see it, so that shouldn't be a miss for too long. And then upcoming, I would say Star Wars and Assassin's Creed are the 2 I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, no, that's good. It sounds like we've got kind of similar experiences this year. I also don't see a ton of movies. I used to. I mean, especially in the summertime, I used to see most of the major Hollywood releases, but this summer I did see Civil War, loved it, one of my favorite movies of the year. I did see Finding Dory just recently, took the family to see Finding Dory, and I think Pixar kind of recaptured their magic that I think was missing with some of their recent movies, but I really loved Finding Dory. Jungle Book was great, we talked about that before. I agree with you that Deadpool was fantastic, one of my favorite movies. I can't recommend it to every single person who might listen to this show. It is definitely rated R. So
Yeah.
take that with a grain of salt, but it's very clever. It's insanely well written, just so funny. And Ryan Reynolds is perfect for that role. From the opening sequence, I knew I was going to like this movie. From the way the credits weren't even real credits. They were just like mocking what credits are usually about. It's just so funny. So I really loved it. And then Zootopia is another one I loved this year. And of course, I'm a dad, so I do see the animated movies, but it's a good excuse to go see them because honestly, I like animated movies. I also didn't put on here, but we did go see Ratchet and Clank. I'd put that in the... I don't know if I'd put it in a bad category, but it's not great. But I will tell you that my kids loved it. So that's kind of like an in-between...
I'd like to see it, but I'll wait till it's either
it's fine. I mean,
free
get it from the
or
library, get it from Redbox, wherever you get like a cheap movie option for a family night at some point.
Mhm.
It's not bad. It's not bad. It's not good either. As far as bad or at least disappointing, I'd put Warcraft, X-Men Apocalypse, and Suicide Squad all in that maybe not totally bad, but definitely disappointing category. We talked about X-Men. I think there's a huge missed opportunity there. I thought Days of Future Past was phenomenal, and so Apocalypse was a step back, in my opinion. Michael Fassbender still nailed it, though, by the way, as Magneto. Even though Magneto's character arc in every movie is exactly the same. I mean, every single movie, he's like trying to do the right thing, but then he aligns with the wrong side, but then he's kind of halfway talked down at the end to sort of save the good guys, but then he still kind of leaves them at the end. That's every single movie with Magneto so far. So they need to figure out something new with that, and we already talked about.
Well, I was actually reading about that after I watched the movie because I was trying to figure out who some of the actors and actresses were. But they actually said that a lot of the contracts for these actors and actresses is up. And so basically that's done, and they're probably going to reboot this stuff.
Oh,
just like they're going to reboot Wolverine because what's his name? The actor. Why am I forgetting his name?
Hugh Jackman. But he's doing that one last Logan movie,
doing
which
one more
looks
and then he's
pretty
done.
crazy. Looks pretty crazy. That Logan looks like a great way for him to finish out his time as Wolverine. So
I think what he's going to do is what Ryan Reynolds did with Deadpool, and that's he's going to let the real Wolverine come out. It's no longer going to be dictated by the whoever makes those decisions as far as it has to be PG-13 and blah, blah. I think he's going to let the real Wolverine out.
Well, did you see the international trailer where he gets the claws right up through the guy's head and it comes out at the top of his head? Yeah. If they make it like, remember the game that came out? I want to say it was PS2. It might have been PS3 and 360.
It was
I can't remember.
PS3 and 360.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned this in the past, but it was one of the very few superhero games where you feel like the superhero. I felt like Wolverine in that game. I'm sorry, it was very violent. Blood everywhere, you would have a lot of blood with those weapons. So it makes sense. But that game was great. I hope the movie kind of captures some of that visceral combat that should be part of a Wolverine movie. I missed things like Bourne, Tarzan, Star Trek, Doctor Strange. Like you said, I might go see it, but I haven't yet. And then Batman vs Superman, somehow a movie I still haven't seen. But got to remember that was a major movie for this year. So there's several that I've missed. There's several that I've missed that I'm hoping to watch at some point on my whatever 720p magnificent screen that I have. So.
I would put Suicide Squad and Batman vs. Superman not in like a bad category for me, but I would put it in a disappointment. Like, I probably like Batman vs. Superman more than Suicide Squad, but they both weren't great, but they weren't terrible. Right. I guess how I would describe it.
Yeah, I've been told that if I kind of had disappointing, but somewhat, this was kind of fun, but overall disappointing feelings about Suicide Squad, I've been told I'll probably have a similar opinion about Batman vs. Superman. And I do think that's a movie that I will watch. Same thing with Star Trek Beyond. Same thing with the new Bourne movie. I'll totally watch those, like whether they come to Netflix or whether I'm at the library with the kids and there they are on the shelf for a free week rental. I can see myself.
Since we game share, I would imagine you have access to my movies.
I have no idea.
So if I think you should check it. Like if you go into like, because movies are all streamed, like you don't download them. So I would think even though you're logged in as if you're on my home PS4, the way we have it set up, you should be able to go into the store or whatever you can for the movies and be able to stream it, because I own it digitally on the PS4.
I wonder if I have to log in as you, though. So maybe it's one of those things that I have to make sure that you're done on your PS4 for the night and check it. I'll try that out. That's a good call. Because you have the Final Fantasy movie, too, right?
Correct. Which,
yeah,
good reminder. I want to watch that again before the game comes out. And now that I have this 4K TV, even if it's not like a 4K copy, it looks 4K. Like I was watching, X-Men, and I actually own the new. Gosh, forget it. My brain's not working. Michigan lost, by the way, people, in case you didn't know. So I'm not gonna remember anything.
They did.
But anyways, so I was watching X-Men, and I was all excited because I bought the ultra high def. I'm like, oh, I've got my 4K TV. I've got my ultra high def Xbox One player. I've got now the ultra high def movie. I got it real cheap. I got it for $13. I'm so excited. Put it in. It black screens on me, so I can't watch it, and I can't figure it out either why I'm being blocked. Long story short, I decided I'm gonna watch this movie anyways with my kids, so I put it in my PS4 Pro. I put the Blu-ray in there, not the ultra high def, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, this looks 4K. Like, if there's a difference, I need to watch it and see it, because I'm sitting here watching this going, this looks amazing. It looks like I'm in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, all the action scenes
I
were crazy.
wonder if it's anything to do with just the TV itself. Is that just runs?
That's what I'm saying.
And cleaner.
I
and
think it upscales just like it does with a game. I think it upscales it to 4K, so it's not native 4K. That I know, but I'm thinking, and I'm very ignorant on this, that it's trying to upscale it. So the Blu-ray was very clear. It wasn't like like video games. You might get like rough edges or whatever. It was very clear like a Blu-ray, but it looked 4K. Like it looked like it was running at like 60 frames per second. It was very crystal clear. I don't know. I haven't watched a true 4K movie yet, so I can't say, you know what, Derek, you were wrong. But it was definitely better than a Blu-ray on a regular 1080p. That's what I will say.
Okay, cool. Well, I do want to see if I can watch your movies. I didn't think about that as being like all content sharing. I just thought of it as game sharing. So we'll find out.
The thing is, you're 2 hours behind. So if you, like, for instance, when we get done recording, I'm gonna go to bed. So if you want to watch it, you can just log in and watch it.
Are you gonna dream about Hawkeyes?
Yeah, the new Marvel character, the older brother, Hawkeye.
All right, so I do think it's been a solid year for movies, especially if you're a comic book fan or just generally like us. You just kind of like well-made. I guess you could call them kind of nerdy movies. I mean, we still got a new Harry Potter type of movie coming out. We still have Star Wars coming out. We have a video game movie and Assassin's Creed coming out. It's been quite a year if you are into most things that were considered to be nerdy at one point that are now shifting totally into pop culture. So it's been quite a year for movie releases, but I can't necessarily say the same about game releases, but we'll get to that for our main topic here.
Well, let me ask you one question before we move to another topic.
Okay.
Of the upcoming movies coming out, you wrote 3 of them down. Fantastic Beasts, I have no interest in that. Star Wars and Assassin's Creed. Of those 3, which one do you want to see the most? You can put Doctor Strange in there as well if you want.
Yeah, I wouldn't put that in there. I'm interested in that based on what I've heard. Because I loved Inception and I like Marvel movies, and I've heard it's got some Inception mind bendiness to it, but it's still a Marvel superhero movie. So anyway, I do want to see it, but I put that one in the same bucket as Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I do like the Harry Potter movies. I like that whole universe. So I'm interested to see this new series. I think it's a prequel series that goes way before all the Harry Potter stuff.
Yeah,
I'm interested in that. It looks like a high quality movie, and it's supposed to be the beginning of a brand new series. So I'm interested in Fantastic Beasts in the same way I'm interested in Doctor Strange. I really want to see Star Wars Rogue. Is it Rogue or Rogue One?
I want to say it's Rogue One.
Okay. I really want to see the new Star Wars, and I really want to see Assassin's Creed because it's a game franchise that I love, and I'm really curious to see how it translates to the big screen. But if I had to pick one, I'd pick Star Wars because it's a known quantity. I like where they're heading with the new Star Wars universe, updated by J.J. Abrams, and now I'm blanking out on the name of the new director, but I feel like it's in good hands, and the trailer has me sold. That trailer looks awesome for the new Star Wars, so...
I'm very interested in Star Wars, but Assassin's Creed is the one I'm real hyped for. But I'm really invested in that universe. So, if anything, that's the movie that could be a good movie, but be a bad Assassin's Creed movie. And I would probably be very disappointed because I'm really invested in the lore, the characters, and all that stuff. So if they cheese it or do something stupid, I'm gonna be like, really, guys?
Yeah, well, they already, even in the dialogue in the trailer, I already cringed a little bit because they have Jeremy Irons, the great Jeremy Irons, who does an awesome voice. He's Scar from The Lion King. He's the villain from Die Hard 3, and the list of his movies goes on and on. He's been in tons of stuff. And he's doing a voiceover for Assassin's Creed, and at one point he says he's trying to connect the dots for the viewer that, hey, this person's heritage, their bloodline, connects them back to a point in history. But he says it connects them all the way back to the Assassin's Creed. I'm like, that's not a thing. Like, that's it's not a thing to be connected to. So that was a little annoying. That I already feel like, as the video game nerd, I'm like, that's incorrect. But whatever.
You're gonna You're gonna snobby Tim them in the middle of the theater. Excuse me. If somebody please get the lights. Yes, we need to talk about the mistakes this movie is making right now.
I really wish I could do that. I don't have that kind of
That would be so
intestinal
awesome.
fortitude. That would be
Excuse
amazing.
me. Please flip the lights on. I need to talk real quick.
That would be amazing. All right, so it's going to be interesting to see how those movies shape up. I really hope Assassin's Creed, like I've said for every video game movie, I hope this is when video game movies make the turn, because apparently Hitman never did it, the newer one, and I know that Warcraft didn't 100% do it, so here's hoping Assassin's Creed can make it happen.
See, Warcraft is a movie I could watch and be like, yeah, Tim, it's good, because I know nothing about the lore, I know nothing about the games. I would just watch it for an action flick. Assassin's Creed, I'm not going to just watch and go, well, it had great action. Like, it could have that, and I might walk away saying it's a good action flick, but I'll ultimately be disappointed because it's not what I want when it comes to the lore.
It is a good action movie. It does have some incredible fight scenes. The visuals are impressive, although at times incredibly noticeably
Overdone?
CGI.
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah,
I was
totally
gonna say,
overdone
like,
at times.
CGI.
Some of the costumes on the human characters are hit or miss. But that doesn't mean overall visually it's not impressive. I bet you on your 4K TV, if you were to get like the highest scale version of this movie possible to rent or something and watch it, I bet you it looks great. Because it looked good on the big screen to me when I watched it.
My 4K
But I will
TV.
say, just as a standalone movie, it had characters and a storyline I wasn't super familiar with. I think they were trying to, I don't know if they will make more movies, they were trying to set up an entire franchise. They weren't doing the Warcraft 2 or 3 story that I was expecting, and they definitely didn't do any of the main storylines from World of Warcraft. So it was like setting the stage. I mean, in this movie, humans don't know what orcs are yet. Like that, they haven't encountered each other yet. So this is super early in the Warcraft lore.
So like an Origins type.
It's kind of like Origins, and so there are parts of it that were very interesting. I'm like, oh, I see what they're doing. But man, some of the character turns, some of the things the motivations for the villain, and even the lack of emotion in the hero was very disappointing. So that doesn't mean it's a bad movie, but it definitely didn't do the things that even the video games Warcraft did. Like Warcraft 3's story was amazing. The Frozen Throne stuff was great. So if they do revisit Warcraft movies, I hope they don't have to do an exact adaptation, but I'd love to see them pull some of the pieces from some of the great lore that already exists there. But all right, we digress. We're pulling out of the movie talk here, and let's jump headfirst into video games. I'm only playing one game right now. I'm playing Deus Ex Mankind Divided, and I love this game. It's very quickly working its way up the ranks, right up there with games like Mafia 3 and Far Cry Primal, kind of jockeying for a position behind my favorite games this year. So who knows where it'll land. It definitely has some moments that have disappointed me. The game's crashed on me 4 times now. And so that's been very disappointing. That can always ruin an experience. I don't think it's something that everyone experiences. You said you never heard of it or never happened to you. But for me playing it, it's kind of game-breaking at times because then I have to replay a whole chunk depending on when I decided to save it last.
You should try to uninstall it and then reinstall it because I didn't have any issues personally, but I do know, like maybe before you go to bed tonight, uninstall it and then initiate the install, then go to bed. I'm just giving you
that's a good idea. I'll try that.
That's a pro tip. Pro tip, I charge for this.
From a 4K gamer.
Pro 4K gamer. But Jesse White, I know, had like it wasn't like a crash, but it was like a glitch. And he was basically saying that this game was like a 9.5 to him. but that one glitch, and it was like a huge one. I forgot exactly what it was, but it was almost, he had fear that it was game breaking, like he was gonna have to start over because it wasn't. I think it wasn't loading something. There's a part towards the end of the game where it kind of goes into an animation, but it's really loading something, and his game wasn't doing anything. It was just sitting there.
Okay, I had one that just sat there. That was when it was a vendor, and he was trying to get me to take a quest, and I think I accepted it or something, and then their option was, would you like to buy something? And I wanted to hit yes, so I could sell some of my crap and buy some ammo from him. And he said, go ahead and take a look. And the game itself didn't freeze, and the game didn't crash, but it just sat there with the guy staring at me. He's like, go ahead, take a look. And then we just stared at each other for like 5 minutes, and I was like, am I supposed to
just take a look at
I hit all the buttons. Yeah, am I supposed to stare at you? So I did the thing where you hit all the buttons, try everything you can. Nothing worked. I couldn't pause it either. I couldn't do anything, so I had to just hard reset it. So anyway, that was a little frustrating, but the game itself is great. It has taken a lot of pieces from Human Revolution and improved on them already.
Yes.
The movement feels great. The stealth is great. The upgrades they give you right out of the gate. There's something that happens towards the beginning of the game that, of course, in the opening mission you have a ton of powers, and then, of course, like every good game like this, they take them away from you. But they also open up new branches, new paths you can unlock, new augments that you can use, and they're really, really cool. I've already used like 2 or 3 of those. Those are great. And so I love the upgrade. As soon as I started being able to upgrade my character, I was like, I'm in. I'm so in on this game. The story's okay so far, a lot of conspiracy and all that kind of stuff like I expect, so I'm enjoying that. But the side missions are fun too. It almost gives me like think about how invested the Witcher 3 side quests are. I don't want to say it has that level of depth, but some of the side quests take you on very interesting little rabbit trails, and some of the discussions you have, and some of the decisions you have to make, kind of decisions. But it's really good. I really enjoy that. They improved the gunplay as well. Now, I'm a stealth gamer, so I tend to go really slowly through levels and try to sneak around and knock people out quietly. But I did the shooting range, and I've done some shootouts with enemies, and they've improved the shooting by a lot in this game. I don't know if you felt that way too, but I feel like the ability to switch around between guns and quickly switch your ammo types to take out robots versus armor versus guys without armor. It's very cool. It's tons of ways to customize your guns. They give you a little more inventory space out of the gate, which is good.
It felt like a Mass Effect game, like Mass Effect 2 or 3 to me, where it improved the shooting mechanics, and especially when you do the cover base. Granted, Mass Effect 2 and 3 aren't first person, they're third person. But when you go into cover and Deus Ex, in both Deus Ex games I played, you do go into third person. So when you actually go and shoot and then use like your RPG, your skills, that's where the RPG elements are at, and that's why I felt like when I was playing this new one. The old one, no. The old one, A Human Revolution, it played like the first Mass Effect. This one feels like what you would feel like if you were playing Mass Effect 2 or 3. It's really good.
Yeah, and I mean, I even get some Hitman vibes from this in terms of the way the AI works, the way you mark your enemies, the way you kind of want to figure out what they're doing, figure out their pattern, and then kind of sneak around accordingly. It gives me a little bit of Hitman vibes here and there, although it's definitely different from that game too. So really loving Mankind Divided. I'm not too far. I think I'm just now getting ready to head to the next city. I just now went to the ARC headquarters or whatever. So I'm pretty early in the game. I've done a lot of side quest stuff. But I really enjoy that one. And next up for me after that's going to be Gears of War Judgment, because Gears of War 4 is about to have an awesome sale for Black Friday, and that is a game I cannot wait to play too. So that's kind of what I'm playing now and what's coming up next. What about for you?
I didn't hear Dragon Age Inquisition. I thought that was next.
No, you didn't hear it because I didn't say it. Sorry.
Yeah, but I'm your manager and boss, so I write your schedule out. Whatever.
Yeah, sorry.
Fired. For me right now, the main game I've been playing is Dragon Age Inquisition. Last weekend I think it was, I was playing Skyrim and I was like, I don't hate Skyrim, and we had this conversation, but I don't love it. And so the whole time I was playing, I was like, I would rather play The Witcher or Dragon Age. Now, I've already beat The Witcher, and I don't plan to do a second playthrough right now. I started one on the Xbox One probably 6 months ago, and so when I get the complete version on the Xbox One, I'll restart it again or go back to it. But I decided to go into Dragon Age Inquisition because I had bought the Game of the Year version, which has all the DLC. So I'm going through the DLC. There's three pieces of DLC. They're about 6 to 7 hours long each one. I've beat the first two, and I'm probably 3/4 through the third one. So I might even finish it tomorrow. I didn't play any games today. But it's really good. Like, I'll tell you what, the only thing I don't like about Dragon Age Inquisition, there's only one thing I don't like about it. They don't have a New Game Plus, because I really wish I could beat this third DLC and then take my character and start it all over in a New Game Plus.
Is that why you're considering another Witcher 3 run through, because of New Game Plus?
Yeah, that's the one thing, that reason why I might want to stay on my PS4 is I really like New Game Plus, and that's what I was going to talk to you about with Deus Ex, and that's the reason why I played it back to back. The game, like, story-wise is good and everything, but what made me want to play it back to back is the gameplay plus the upgrades. So I took my same character, started a New Game Plus, up the level of difficulty, and I ended up maxing out what's his name, Adam Jensen, in my second playthrough. And
I can already see where that would be helpful, because I've run into some side missions already where I found a cool little side way to approach this mission, but I don't have the skills to go through electricity, or I don't have the skills to move the giant heavy thing yet. I have to upgrade those, and I've earned like 4 praxis so far, or whatever. So I could totally see how a New Game Plus would benefit you, because now you can approach missions from a totally different angle, because you have skills you didn't have before.
There's certain missions you can't get to, or certain things that, like, for instance, there was one mission I did, and I, did everything the same, except in my second playthrough, I found a room I found an area where you can punch the wall, and then you can just drop from, like, this high story all the way down to the ground. And the first time I played it through, I didn't have, I don't know what it's called, but it's like almost like the angel wing type thing move where you can slow down your fall. But I had it in my second playthrough, and I just fell. And it was a quick, easy escape out of there. Whereas the first time, I think it was in the bank or something. First time I played, I had to go through the back through the bank and fight all the enemies. Yeah. So it made that second run through of that area easier, because I had that upgrade, whereas before I didn't have it. So
I will tell you one thing I'm trying to do is I try to save the upgrades, the praxis or praxis, however you say it. I try to save 1 or 2 of those for when I'm in a mission, because I almost always come across a situation where I'm like, oh, I need to bust through a wall here. I didn't get that one yet, so I'll use it. So I've done that a few times, and it's paid off.
That's pretty smart. You're pretty smart.
Thought.
That's seriously.
I got glasses now, so I'm super smart.
Yeah, I'm like the pro 4K gamer who's not smart at gaming, and you're like the cheap ass gamer who's really smart at gaming. That's who we are. That's good.
Yeah, that's why we work so well together.
So, Dragon Age is the main one.
You're playing one of the brand new releases that just came out that everyone's been talking about. Tell me a little bit about Dishonored 2.
So you want to talk about Mass Effect? Yeah, I started playing Mass Effect again. So I played probably about an hour of Dishonored 2. I haven't played much because my 2 main games have been Dragon Age and Mass Effect. But it's good. I mean, you got to see my stealth video. I've been really working on my...
I did.
I've been really working.
If you're part of our Facebook group and you haven't seen this, go in there and search for Derek. Find his video where I think he even tagged me in it, where it's you doing stealth, and I love it because you got your pistol and you got your knife, and I remember this from Dishonored 1. It's a really cool setup you have, and you even crouch, you sneak down behind the wall, and as soon as the patrolling soldier kind of catches a glimpse of you, all you had to do was stay hidden, and it would have been fine. But you were just like, screw it, and you jumped out there and just started shooting.
The best part is I thought, well, I'll just run out and kill him. I thought it was just 2 people, but I ended up having like 7 guys run at me. I'm like, oh gosh. And even part of the video, I'm just like swiping my sword out of like desperation and just swiping at air, because I was like 1 hit away from getting killed. Game's actually, it plays just like the first one, and it's real difficult. So if you're not doing stealth, which you'll love because you're gonna do stealth, but if you do what I do and you're like, I'm just gonna kill everybody, it's real easy to die. They make it very realistic. They are still really encouraging you to play quiet, but they do give you the option to do what I did, and that's I killed 7 guys with 3 bullets and a sword.
All right. Well, when you get a few more hours into that thing, I know you're pretty early on.
Yeah, I'll
more
definitely
hours,
talk about
give
it
us an update.
more. I mean, my main goal is, just like you're talking about what you're going to finish and what you're going to go to, is I want to finish the DLC for Dragon Age Inquisition. I was going to start a second playthrough. I'm going to not do that, only because of Tuesday we have Watch Dogs 2 coming out as well. So I don't have the time to invest in Dragon Age again while trying to play Dishonored 2 and Watch Dogs 2. The other thing is, I have decided before Mass Effect Andromeda comes out, I want to replay the Mass Effect trilogy. So I started Mass Effect.
Good thing those are
Xbox
small, short, bite-sized games.
Mass Effect, you can play it pretty short. It's not too bad. You can beat it in like 15 to 20 hours. So it's not bad.
You know, the first time I played Mass Effect, I spent so much time talking to everyone in that opening. I forget what the place is called, that ship at the beginning. You know, you can walk around everywhere and go in pretty much every area and talk to everybody. I spent so much time doing that, and I was like, this game's boring. And then I realized, I don't have to do this. What's wrong with me? So anyway, maybe that's part of my problem. All right. So there's a lot of AAA games that have come out this fall. It kind of was a dry spell there for a while. We had just 1 or 2 over the course of the summer. And of course, we had some infamous game releases like No Man's Sky. And then we had some that came out like Deus Ex Mankind Divided that were totally unopposed. But now we're in this season where every week there's at least one AAA game, in some cases multiple AAA games coming out each week. And it's been kind of crazy. And that's why we've been talking about how the Game of the Year discussion, or how are we going to keep up, or you said last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, I'm running out of time. You were telling that to me that I'm running out of time to play all these games, and you're right, I am, because they're coming out so fast and furious. If some of these had come out in July or August or something, maybe I'd be able to keep pace with it, because I spent so much time playing stuff like Rocket League because I had nothing to play that week, and I was just filling my time with Rocket League. So anyway, AAA season is upon us. And there have been several AAA games released this year. Now, by most accounts, when you ask them about the 2016 and compared to 2015, most people have been saying how weak it is. But I want us to kind of think back, not only to compare this year to last year, but also just give each other and give our listeners our thought on the state of AAA games. One of the common discussion topics that keeps coming up in the multiple groups we've been in within our community, sometimes during our late-night Rocket League talks, is AAA games compared to indie games. So I want you and I, Derek, to give kind of share each of our thoughts, and then maybe we'll pose a question for the listeners when we're done to see what they think. But what do we think is the current state of AAA games? Now, we might be talking about indies at some point, but for right now, we're really trying to focus on those big-budget, major publisher, big release games that usually come out. They have a major release date. People are lining up for the most part to get it. It's got physical copies for sure. So give me kind of your overall thoughts on the state of AAA games. How are you assessing the current state of these mega budget games?
I mean, I saw like your secondary questions were like, is it on the rise or a decline? I would say, I mean, if we were to compare this year to last year, it'd be a minimal decline, but it would still be a decline. But I would say it's pretty stable. I wouldn't say it's on the rise or anything like that. Like, there's a lot of good third-party AAA games. There's not a lot of good first-party AAA games. Specifically, I should say, on the PS4. I think Xbox One has done a good job of supporting it. I know there are a good amount on the PS4. I'm not knocking it. As everybody knows, I prefer my PS4. But I think Microsoft has been the most consistent as far as having a set schedule and releasing big, I'm talking big AAA. I'm not talking about what's coming out in December. The Last Guardian, to me, that's not like a big AAA game. I'm talking about games that are like Call of Duty, Gears of War, Halo, that type of stuff. So I think Microsoft's done really, really good this generation of staying on track, having a schedule, and releasing big AAA games that way. Whereas Sony's been kind of like all over the place. I think they're going to start getting consistent. I was really, what was it, E3, where they really blew us away with all those great games that I think are going to start hitting 2017, 2018. So I think they're really going to start overloading us. But overall, to answer your question, I think AAA gaming's great. I would say it's not on the rise. It's not on the decline. But it's still relevant. It's not like we're seeing a complete separation where people are just like, well, we're just going to make small titles because the risk is too much on creating big titles. The desire for big titles is still there, if that answers your question.
Yeah. No, I agree. I actually feel like they're still slightly on the rise. So you're right. It's hard to compare it to last year. I think 2015, when we look back on it as the years progress, I think 2015 will end up being an incredible year to reflect on. But if you go with additional recent years, 2014, 2013 and back, I feel like overall AAA games are increasing again. I feel like with the rise of the indie game and the decline and almost disappearance of that mid-tier B-level game, AAA was kind of in a weird place where they weren't always delivering number one, but there just weren't that many. And now I feel like there's a lot more. Even in a year like this when we're saying, hey, where's all the games? We did have a lot of AAA games that were released. There's some major franchises that released their games this year. But that being said, I don't know that it's as good as it's ever been. I think 2015 is a good example of being great. And if you keep going back, years like 2008 had some amazing games released that year. So it's not necessarily as good as it's ever been. But when we're in the thick of it right now, I mean, we've had week after week of major game releases. These games had just tens of millions of dollars poured into them, and years of promotion and marketing and development that have gone into these games. These are major games that are all coming out in one big push right now. Even EA put out 2 first-person shooters within 10 days of each other, and that's kind of unheard of, but that, in my mind, kind of speaks to the fact that there are a lot of AAA games that are still being developed, and I feel like we're going to see, like you just said, even more in 2017 and even more in 2018. I don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon.
No,
I actually think,
a love and
we can talk about indie games in a different conversation in the future, but I do feel like the charm and the surprise of indie games is starting to fade, and they're becoming a little more like mid-tier games. Think about stuff like Witness and Inside and even things that were less well-received, like maybe even a Recore. But the return of like that $40 to $50 type of a game that's kind of in the middle, maybe $30. It's not a $5 or $10 little indie charmer. Like everyone loved games like Journey or Flower, things like that. But these are different. These are deeper experiences, but they're not quite AAA experiences. I think some of these indie games are building back up to more that mid-tier level. So it's interesting to see that happen. I feel like indie games are actually in a weirder spot right now than AAA. So I feel like AAA games are really strong right now. And I say that because even in a year like this when overall game releases are kind of considered to be weak, I've had a blast with the AAA games that have come out that I've actually had a chance to get to. We overlook a lot of stuff that came out this past spring. You know, everything from, we talked about Far Cry Primal, of course, Uncharted 4 and Doom, and there were so many games that dropped this year that would be considered AAA. And of course now we're right in the thick of it. So I feel like it's still slightly on the rise, maybe not to the peak that was 2015. And as far as how the games this year compare to recent years, I think 2016 is getting a bad rap. I feel like it's a better year than we're giving it credit for, and it's closing out very strongly. It's closing out really strongly. And of course, we still have Final Fantasy 15. We still have Watch Dogs 2. We still have a few games that are yet to drop that are going to help secure.
I loved 2015, but I think 2016 has a shot to, I won't say surpass it, but at least even itself out. If, and this is a big if I absolutely love Dishonored 2, which I'm going to tell you right now, even though I'm an hour in, I'm going to like the game. It's not going to be one that I'm like, Tim, this was so disappointing. It plays like Dishonored 1, but just better. So why would I not like it? The other two would be Watch Dogs 2. I think I was kind of a Debbie Downer about Watch Dogs 2 because I didn't like the direction they were going in. I felt like they were just like, hey, we're going to be a GTA clone. And that's what I didn't want them to be because, as we've talked about before, wasn't a big GTA fan of recent GTA games until I played 5 again. But now I'm kind of looking at this game going, you know what? This is what I want, and I'm really excited to check out San Francisco and just play in that open world and goof around. So, again, don't know if I'm going to love it, but I am hyped about it. I think there's a chance that I could really, really love this game because I love the first one. And then last but not least is Final Fantasy 15. I think the way they've set that game up with the movie, with the anime, like the short animes and the presentations and everything they've done, a bunch of gameplay releases. Like Square Enix is basically saying, please buy my game. And they've done a great job of getting me as somebody who likes Final Fantasy. I buy the Final Fantasies on day one. I do like them, but I'm not in love with them. They've got me to the point where I'm like, I really, really want to play this game, and I really, really want to like play it through. Hopefully I won't get stuck or anything. If I get stuck, then that means I hate the game. But really, I'm excited for these 3 games. And if I love these 3, let's say they make my top 5, when you add on like an Uncharted 4, a Doom, we just talked about Deus Ex, which is right now in my top 3, Gears of War 4, and then you have Dark Souls 3, which I absolutely loved. I mean, it's a loaded year for me personally. But again, a lot of that weight falls on these last 3 games. If I say Dishonored 2 is good, top 10 but not top 5, Watch Dogs 2 I couldn't get into, or Final Fantasy 15 I got stuck, I couldn't get into, then I'll probably end up saying, you know what, 2016 was a bit of a letdown. But overall, I think it's a good year. It's got a lot of games that I'm interested in. I don't know if I could say it compares to 2015, but I think it can at least, if those 3 are good, maybe match it to a certain extent.
I mean, it is definitely missing a few heavy hitters that 2015 had. Of course, we've talked a lot about The Witcher 3.
Fallout
we had Arkham
4.
Knight. You had Fallout 4. You had Metal Gear Solid 5. You had Assassin's Creed Syndicate, arguably the best Assassin's Creed game to date. You had Tomb Raider drop. So we had some heavy hitters that aren't here this year, but you could say the same thing about this year. We actually had a Far Cry game released, where in 2015 we didn't. I think Far Cry 4 was late 2014 release, if I remember correctly. We did have Dark Souls to kind of match up with 2015's Bloodborne. We did have, okay, let's not even mention No Man's Sky, but we did have Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. We did have we right now have Dishonored 2. We have Watch Dogs 2. We have what many consider to be a revitalization of the first-person genre with Battlefield 1. People are loving Battlefield 1.
It's really good.
We had Titanfall 2, and we had, of course,
good.
a new Call of Duty that's getting decent reviews. I don't think it's the strongest Call of Duty based on what I'm reading, but it's still a major Call of Duty release. And, of course, we have one of the major franchises of all time in Final Fantasy releasing their game. And in December, holding out hope here that Last Guardian actually arrives, I do think there's enough in 2016 to answer for what we saw in 2015 to at least give it some credit of being a solid year. As someone who loves The Witcher 3 more than most people do, I feel like 2015 is a better year simply because of that one game, if nothing else. And Metal Gear Solid 5, too. I think we don't really have this year those kind of Fallout 4, Metal Gear 5, Witcher 3. We don't really have those, but we still have some amazing single-player, especially, experiences this year.
See, I think
it's
you,
good, but not as good.
For you, yes, I understand what you're saying. But for somebody like me, like where I played Dark Souls 3, to me, Dark Souls 3 matched my experience with The Witcher. I'm not saying it's a better game. I'm saying my experience with it, the fact that I played it back to back, the fact that while I was at work, I was checking YouTube videos and reading guides, and just I was completely obsessed with this world. I must get good at this game. And for me, that's why it's one of the top experiences. And then Deus Ex.
Well, and we'd be remiss not to mention the 2 major console-exclusive franchises, and that's Uncharted and Gears of War. Both released their 4th games in the series.
Did a
both
great
to
job.
very high acclaim. And as someone who's very new to the Gears franchise, but is very quickly falling in love with it, I can already tell you, without even playing it, that Gears of War 4 is an amazing game. That's just based off of hearing what you and others have said and reading reviews on it. And I can tell you from personal experience, Uncharted 4 is a stellar game. So there's enough in 2016, in my opinion, to put up a solid fight against what was admittedly an amazing year in 2015. But I think, and the reason I'm bringing all this up is not necessarily to say which year was better. It's more to say I think the state of AAA games is very strong, and this year was supposed to be a weak year, and yet to me it's still going to turn out to be, like you just said, when all is said and done, a very solid year for gaming, especially for those AAA franchises. So I'm very excited to see how this year is shaped up, despite the fact that even on this show, you and I in our conversations have talked about how this year's kind of disappointing compared to last year. And I think I'm going to pull back on that opinion now that I've had a chance to experience a lot more. And I think playing Deus Ex is helping some of that. Like, wow, there's some great stuff this year. So,
well, I think the reason why I have said that, and it's because I've been tracking my spreadsheet. There's two reasons why I was thinking 2016 it's been a little bit of a disappointment. But like I said, I think the back end could really change my view. Is when I was writing out my top 10 games, I was putting games in there that I was like, I liked them, but they weren't great. And so I'm like, I remember when we did top 10, well, that's how we started our show, is we basically did a year in review of 2015. And so we went through our top 10, and I was struggling to choose certain games over others in my top 10. Like, I was overloaded. So that's what I mean with the end of this year. If these three games, and I do really think they are going to be phenomenal games, even though I troll Mark Allen and Daniel Freitas about how bad Final Fantasy 15 is going to be, I really do think it's going to be an amazing game. If they really are that strong, I'm going to end up having that when we have our little Game of the Year conversation and top 10 of the year, and I'm going to struggle because I'm going to be like, these are all great games, and there's a lot of them.
Even before playing Final Fantasy 15 or before playing Watch Dogs 2, I already feel like my list has filled out more than I expected it to. I mean, I remember last year, a game like Assassin's Creed Syndicate, it's my favorite game in a franchise. It's one of my favorite franchises. And yet, I think I finished with it either 4th or 5th because there were so many other amazing games between Rocket League and Witcher 3 and Metal Gear Solid 5. So those games overtook it. So I think of it that way, and I'm like, wow, something as amazing as Assassin's Creed Syndicate was down like in 5th place for me. What a great year that was. Well, now this year, now that things are starting to add up, and even though, as I've said, I won't be able to play everything, there's definitely going to be some games sitting in that 5th or 6th spot that I'm like, that game was like a 9 for me, but there's too many other good games in front of it. So I do think that's going to make our Game of the Year discussion very interesting because there's more games vying for top spots than I originally thought there would be. So that's exciting. That's exciting to see.
Yeah, and I've been tracking it because it's real important to me to get this right. So I'm like, I don't want to go and be like, make a list and forget a game that I really love. So I've been tracking everything, and even as I'm playing them, if I feel like, let's say I played Gears of War 4 and I'm like, it's the best game I played, I put it on top of my list.
Yeah.
And then if
well,
a week
actually,
later,
I think that's
like,
one of the things that trophies and achievements have done for gamers that kind of doesn't get talked about enough, and that is, I mean, people always talk about it as, what's your gamer score, how many platinums do you have, and it's more about the accomplishment. I think it's actually a great tool to be able to go back and glance through your list to see what games you've played and see what games you've completed because you liked it so much. So I like to use that trophy list sometimes to go back and review what I've played, and even the achievement list too, to go back and see what I've played. So let's talk about some AAA franchises just over the years, not necessarily this year, but when you think about AAA franchises, what do you think? Give me one or two franchises that has been the most consistent in terms of quality and just staying relevant.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say like The Witcher because that doesn't come out quite often enough. Let me see.
You think about it, and I'll actually respond to that first one. The reason I wouldn't say The Witcher is because Witcher 1 is a pretty weak game.
Yeah.
Witcher 2 is better, but still not quite there, and then Witcher 3 finally nailed it. So I wouldn't think that's very consistent. And you're right, the releases are so many years in between each game. I'd go more like something like two franchises I've just discovered in the last year are two of the major ones that we just mentioned, Uncharted and Gears of War. I feel like those are two of the most consistent AAA franchises out there in terms of their quality, the production value, and also the gameplay continues to improve with each one. At some point, we're actually going to do a Gears versus Uncharted show where we really break down which games, were better to start with, and how they improved, and maybe not necessarily pick our favorite, but just kind of break down the differences and the similarities between those.
We're going to pick our favorite. I'm going to force you to pick your favorite.
You're right. So I would say those two just to kind of get things started in terms of consistency. I'd also like to throw out there the Final Fantasy series. I know there's been some misses, and people like to crap on games like 13, and I admittedly haven't played 13 for longer than 90 minutes maybe. It just didn't click with me. I didn't want to play that game at that time. That being said, this is going to be the 15th mainline game, not counting all the spin-offs and even games like X2 and all these other games that have come out. The Final Fantasy franchise, with their AAA games especially, they've been very consistent. One of my least favorite ones that's very popular is 8, Final Fantasy 8, but people still love that game, and I'll admit it's still a solid RPG, even though I don't love it. So I'd throw Final Fantasy in that mix as well as a AAA game franchise that consistently delivers throughout the years.
I will.
What comes to mind for you now that you've heard me kind of spout off a little bit?
Well, honestly, before you said it, I was thinking Gears of War, but I wanted to go beyond like Gears and stuff like that. Gears and Uncharted, I 100% agree with you. For me, I would focus on like franchises that BioWare releases. I think Mass Effect is very consistent and even improves as they go. And Dragon Age is the exact same way. Like Dragon Age Origins came out, freaking love that game. Like it's such a phenomenal game. It's like a must play in my opinion. And then you have Dragon Age 2, which a lot of people bitched and complained about, but honestly, it was a good game. They just try to change it up to get more people to like Dragon Age. I guess it's a little bit harder sell than, a Mass Effect. And then Dragon Age Inquisition, right now, if I had to, and we're not going to go into a full conversation about this, but right now I would have to say, with as much as I've been playing that and as much as I played The Witcher 3, those two are my favorite games of this generation. So Dragon Age and Mass Effect are definitely two of the most AAA franchises that are very consistent. When they are coming out with a game, I have full confidence it's going to be good. Even Andromeda, which I didn't know anything about and I was like not real hyped about, and then once I saw that like real trailer, I was like, I need Andromeda now.
No, I don't know why we wouldn't include these. I don't know why we wouldn't include Nintendo franchises. So I might as well mention as well games like Zelda. The reason why I wouldn't throw in something like Mario is because every Mario game is so different. So I guess you could say, you've got your 2D Marios as a franchise maybe, and maybe your 3D Marios, but that one's a little tougher. There's a little more nuance to that, but of course they've always been high quality. But in terms of Nintendo, I'll have to say Zelda and Mario Kart. In my mind at least, I consider those to be AAA franchises. I don't see why they wouldn't be considered that. And those are always consistently fantastic games.
They're just great fun
out there too. Well, the menu screens are great too. The color in your room keeps changing. What's going on when you're from your screen? Like I keep seeing it turn like purple and red. What's going on in your room? Is that from your screen?
I'm trying to do like a discotheque type lighting.
It's really weird. You'll be talking and it'll go like red. I'm like, did you just turn to the dark side like just now when it turned red? Like what was that?
I was watching like the game when we started, and then I just flipped it to Sports Center. So I've got the TV. I'm working on a monitor recording, but I have the TV. Yeah, see right now. Good. If it's on me,
that's good because it makes me feel good that when I'm talking, at least you have something to do, since you're not going to pay attention to what I'm saying. At least you have something to keep you occupied.
Yeah, what are you saying, Tim?
Yeah, that's what I thought. All right, let me ask you one more question, then we're going to wrap this thing up. What dormant AAA franchise, and maybe you won't think of one off the top of your head, that's okay, but what dormant AAA franchise would you like to see resurrected?
There's two of them, and it's BioWare again. I want my damn Knights of the Old Republic, and I want Jade
it'd be Decoder? DKOTOR?
No.
Okay.
I get it. I know what you're doing. I want Cooter 3, according to my wife. Cooter. And I want Jade Empire.
Is that a franchise though? I guess
it's a franchise in my heart. It's a freaking franchise. And I know Jesse White, if he listens to the show, he's going to be like, hell yeah, Derek. Yeah, him and I are friends again, even though we had a little Skyrim spat. But he and I want our Coder, and we want our Jade Empire. We want them back, and we want them back now. I don't understand. BioWare makes me so angry with this. I don't understand why they just sit on these two. I don't get it. Yeah. And they know they're relevant, and here's why I can say this, and it's not just my opinion. They keep re-releasing them on, iPads and iPhones. They keep re-releasing these games. They just did it with Jade Empire, just came out. And they won't talk about even a remaster. Could you imagine if they said at an E3, we are releasing Knights of the Old Republic remastered or Jade Empire remastered? I would flip a freaking lid. That's how passionate I am about those two franchises.
Well, those are good picks. I like those. If they released Knights of the Old Republic 3, people would lose their minds. They'd make so much money on that. That'd be amazing.
NCAA football. I want
that was going to be one of mine, so I'm glad you said it. I totally agree with that. NCAA football needs to come back. I realize that's not necessarily because EA doesn't want to. There's other issues there. We've talked about that. I'll throw out, since I mentioned Nintendo earlier, I'll throw out their Metroid, specifically Metroid Prime. I'd love to see them come back with that series. That was really fun, but I want them to go full shooter. Like, go ahead and let it lean more towards Halo and less towards adventure style, where you're exploring and solving little mysteries.
Super cool. We're making Jesse happy tonight.
Make it a really solid in that Metroid universe, which can be very interesting if they really open that thing up. So I want to see Metroid. In terms of old school RPGs, I wouldn't mind seeing them come back with an Ogre Battle. I used to love those games. And I also, of course, used to love the Suikoden series, which I think stopped with 5. And then they made a really lackluster DS game. I think it's pronounced like Tier Chris or something. It's not very good. So I'd love to see. Maybe those are more on the B level, so maybe I'm kind of reaching there. I don't know if they're AAA or not. I think Ogre Battle at one point in time was close to a AAA style development cycle. But all that to say, there's certainly dormant franchises that I'd like to see come back. It'd be interesting to see if they ever brought Medal of Honor back to try to compete in the first-person shooter realm. But now that Battlefield seems to have really made a move, I'd be surprised if EA did that. I think Medal of Honor is probably gone for a while. But in terms of, there's one other that came to mind that I'm kind of blanking on. Oh yeah, Siphon Filter would be cool if they brought that back. I don't think I played all those games, but I did like, that Secret Agent. It was a third-person cover-based shooter, espionage kind of game. They could really do Siphon Filter really well. And last one I'll mention before we close is Splinter Cell. Where is my current gen Splinter Cell? I want it. I want Splinter Cell. I want it back.
Were they selling good towards the end, though? I think they kind of failed on the 360 and PS.
Yeah, they might have, which would be a total shame because the last couple... all of the Splinter Cell games have been great. Even Double Agent, that a lot of people have some issues with, I thought was a really fun game. Blacklist was amazing. Conviction was great.
One and beat it. I started, a couple, really just played, 30 minutes of them. But it was the last one. Is that Blacklist?
Blacklist was the last one, yeah.
I bought it on the Wii U, and I played it all the way through. Freaking loved it. I thought they nailed Blacklist the gameplay. It was awesome. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, Blacklist is the one where as you'd be moving in the shadows and in the lighting, they'd have, the objectives kind of, on the screen for you in really unique, kind of cool ways. So that was fun. Conviction was a good game. I think Chaos Theory, which was back in PS2 and original Xbox days, Chaos Theory, one of the greatest third-person stealth games ever made. So I hope that Splinter Cell makes a return. So anyway, it sounds like from what both of us were sharing that we both agree that for the most part, AAA games are in a very healthy, very good spot from our perspective, at least as consumers, as fans of a lot of these AAA games. We feel like they're in a very good spot. So that's a good thing. I hope that remains. I don't want indie games and mid-tier games to go away by any stretch. I want them to continue to be creative and push the boundaries a little bit. But I still want my big AAA games. I still want those. I want the big experiences with the big cutscenes and the crazy set pieces and the big voice actors. I want all that stuff. I still want all that, even though I sometimes want a smaller game, Inside or something like that. But all right, well, that's all I got. Derek, I think we're going to wrap it up. I know it's a late night for you, and you've got a pillow to go cry some tears into. So
I'm actually okay. I really am. I'm okay.
That's good. It's a good attitude to have because they are still 9-1. So
yeah, and they lost a tough game that I feel like they could have won. It could have gone either way, so it's fun.
Look at you being positive. Well done. Well done.
Rebound, beat Ohio State. I won't be like this if we lose to Ohio State. Then I'll pitch it.
Yeah, we might. We haven't missed an episode yet. We're on episode 45. We've done this for 45 straight weeks.
We'll have to record Friday night that week because I'm not going to record if they lost. I will text you and I'll probably just flick you off. I won't even say anything to you.
We'll have to record like Friday because I think they played Saturday after Thanksgiving, if I remember correctly. So
here's how I would read the text message. Hey, Derek, it's Tim. Just wanted to know if you wanted to record tonight. And my response. And then I would get the sad face emoji from Tim. Like
I'm not even
really
offended
crying.
by you flipping me off just now. I'm more offended at the horrible impersonation you just did of me. Like that's
Hi guys,
awful.
My name is Tim, and I just want to say hello.
Is that the voice when I text you or write on Facebook? That's the voice you read it in? Good Lord. Oh, my gosh.
You make a great point, Derek. Thanks for listening to the show.
Oh, man. All right. Well, there's no better way to end it than that. Thanks, guys, for listening to Derek and whatever that noise apparently is that I make. All right. We're out of here. See ya.
Who is your daddy? I am the father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?
That's a great question, folks. Tim here. Timmy.